What's up, guys? This is Hyce, and look, I remembered to unmute my microphone this time. Oh my goodness, but my camera's not aimed very well. Well, we'll take one demerit for the other. Welcome to Office Hours for August of 2024. I know it's a smidge late in terms of the time of day for some of you on the East Coast, but anyway, we're going to go through and answer your railroading questions. I still got several pages worth in my Google Drive folder. And then, of course, we're taking live questions as well. I'll jump into Discord. I see we're joined by just Midland today. We'll see if anyone else pops in.
Just me.
Hello, Midland. Good to see you, my friend.
Hello.
And this is gonna be fun. There's some good questions in here. But first, I see JSJ Inc. has gifted a membership. Thank you so much. Quackagate, welcome to the Firemen. Appreciate you. There's special videos for just firemen and above out there that are just uncut on the engine, which hopefully I'll be filming some more of that coming up in the near future here, but we shall see. So anyway, Pierce Madness, conductor for 1 year. 1 year being a member and another session of Office Hours. Good day to be on chat, watching the stream also, and waiting on more PC parts. Was here before. Oh yeah, well, you gotta love getting new PC parts and putting things together. Jordan Freeman, what LEGO series did you really get into? For you, it was Bionicle. You have a Bionicle collection so big you have to store it in 3 places around the house. Bionicles are rad. Pohatu is my dude, man. That's my guy. I never really got super crazy into a specific series. I think I was always just trying to build silly things in LEGO. My favorite thing to do as a kid was build a very strong vehicle, like car thing, and then drop it and see if it would break or not. I was always designed to be an engineer, I guess. Virgo Drewski, are there any photos or videos of 491 lifting her lead truck off the rails during her initial test run? That was not during the initial test run. That was during operations after a couple of years. That was in 2015, I think. And no, there were no videos because it happened once and everyone went, okay, put it away. So anyway, Jason Goodman, hey, Hyce, as I recover from a sprained neck, I just want to ask what pressure you guys run at the museum. Depends on the engine. 346 is 160, 20 is 180, and 491 is 185. Hopefully 491 will get back to 200 someday, but the math doesn't check out with a couple of the goofy patches and the way that the modern law works out. So she runs at 185. Fingers crossed. It shouldn't be the world's biggest deal to fix. So Jason, DRRP, keep up the good work, Hyce. Fireman for 20 months. Thank you. Trainspotter 454. Hi, Hyce. If one were to build the fabled V8 Heisler, would it make more sense to have 8 equal cylinders or have it compound with 4 high and 4 low pressure cylinders? I don't know. You would really want to find a good way to regulate the low pressure steam, because unequal forces on a drive shaft. Well, I guess you could pair the low pressure cylinders, I guess, and then it wouldn't matter as much. But you'd be worried about fatigue of the drive shaft if the forces weren't even, right? If you have disparity in the forces going back and forth, that's when you significantly can increase fatigue stress in something. And so high pressure, low pressure, you would really want to make sure the force on all the components is just right. And I don't think you can ever truly regulate the low pressure cylinders well enough to keep them consistent. But maybe you can in the case of a Heisler when you've got a gear shaft that's spinning so quick. I don't know. But 8 cylinders, I mean, that's a lot. They only had 2 on the normal ones. I would start with a V4 and go from there. John Kissinger, welcome to the Brakeman. Thank you. Gaming Doggo 66, fireman of 14 months. Hyce, could theoretically the big boy go up to Canada through Idaho, knowing some of the curves and grades there, but it's a good 14 months. Yes, it's been a good 14 months. Thank you for supporting me for so long. There's some legal things that the big boy would have to deal with to run in Canada, let alone the fact that it is not, it's not a on Union Pacific track. And UP probably would not be too friendly for their prized possession to go elsewhere, if I had to guess. I don't know about the grades and curves leading into Canada. I would imagine some of the stuff in Idaho, you're probably getting into some amount of the... Maybe you're west of the Rockies in Idaho, I guess, but you might be getting into the Rockies, and that might get a little weird. So you gotta keep that in mind for sure. Alex Beck, brakeman for a month. Oh, hey, a month. Thank you, mate. Vixis Rin, hello from Eastern Standard Time. It's never too late for trains. Awesome. Glad you're here. Virgo Drusky, where exactly is the Black Canyon on the DNRGW, as mentioned in Little Engines and Big Men? It's underwater. That's the best answer I got for you now. Let me pull up a map of Colorado, and we will show you where we can go. So
it is in fact now a lake.
It is now a lake. Yes. So Gunnison, Colorado, is specifically the location that they're talking about, which is kind of central Colorado. It's west of Salida. You went over Marshall Pass from Mears Junction, which Leighton, Brett, Dusty, and I drove just the other weekend. You went up through, came down, met at Sargent's, went through Parlin into Gunnison, and then it was the line west of Gunnison connecting to Cimarron and Montrose. That was the Black Canyon line. So the Gunnison River right here, they dammed it, and now most of the railroad lake or grade is now a lake. The Curricani Needle was the big early scenic bit on the Rio Grande system back on the 3rd Division many moons ago. But the track ran through basically the floor of this reservoir here. We drove as far as about here. The road was closed beyond that, so that's as far as we got. But the roadbed had already gone under the lake and continued through. But before it was a lake, they call it the Black Canyon because it was so deep that no matter what time of day, the sunlight wouldn't reach the bottom, which is just so freaking cool. What a neat place. What a neat bit of geography. So anyway, yeah. But hopefully that's there at west of Gunnison. Ken Monco, can't believe it's been 5 months. Thanks for all. Thank you. Alex Beck, Bossman Hyce, what are my thoughts on the cutest little standard gauge Pacific, Little River 110? It is the cutest little standard gauge Pacific. I know nothing of it other than it's a very cute little standard gauge Pacific. John Kissinger, it's actually been 13 months. I was going to say, I recognize your name. Takua was your spirit animal. Lovely. And thank you for supporting. Athena, any updates on global merch and such? Leighton has told me that he should have it done sometime within this. He said by the end of the week, earlier this week, so I don't want to throw him under the bus. But new boxcars and global shipping is coming very soon. So probably early next month at this point. But he's a busy boy, Leighton is, and he is doing me a huge favor by doing this. Of course, I am paying him with just the profits, but we've been so kind of not profitable overall, trying to get set up and changing providers and all these things that he's been doing a lot of work and hasn't received a paycheck yet. So he's just been a saint for me. So anyway, C-Mart Matros, conductor for 6 months. Hey, Hyce, thoroughly enjoyed the wheel alignment video. I'm assuming you mean arrangement. In the video, you mentioned doing a Yellowstone versus Big Boy video. Any chance of getting one? I really want to do that when I can film a Yellowstone in person. I've realized that I can do a lot of these talking heads kind of things, but it's a lot more interesting to be able to go up and compare and see a locomotive up close, and be able to show the fun little details with it, because otherwise it's just kind of like, here's the stats that you could look up on Wikipedia. I'm copy pasting Wikipedia and making it a YouTube video, which doesn't feel very good. So I want to try and give you a little bit more bang for your buck. So one of these days I'll get up to the Midwest and go see one of those things and get it filmed. But I kind of already covered the big boy's not the biggest thing, and we mentioned the Yellowstone in terms of tractive effort. So yeah, anyway. Sean J Animations, Evening Mark, hope your day's been well. Excited to stick around for the hours. Good to see you, man. It's been a busy day. It's been a busy week. I love having company in town, but trying to spend time with everybody and keep things afloat and meet many obligations and all that can be quite a challenge. So anyway, Joey the Cat, hey Hyce, how did seeing the large lad go? It was awesome. I posted the video for members already, and I had a misrender. The end of the video didn't render, so I took it down. I'll be re-uploading it after this, but I will give you a little sneak peek before we get into some more questions here, because it was neat. The audio quality was
What's up,
not
guys? This is
necessarily
Hyce, and
the
today we have
greatest.
something a little different for you.
The
the
blah
channel's
blah 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 blah. Hyce talks. But seeing, oh, I got to do this. There we go. Seeing it blast up Archer Hill with no diesel, and then they did the funny. I'd never recorded anything that loud or that windy with the shotgun mic plugged into my new camera, so I didn't have the audio quite set right. It's supposed to automatically handle it, and it does not do that very well. So single tier.
It tries.
It tries. You set the gain manually, and you have a much better time, is what I found out while shooting with it on this day. But the other thing, I won't spoil the entire video, but I had some really, really neat shots. Shout out to one Patrick Caboose. He's probably driving home right now because he dropped off Jersey from their adventure today. So he's probably not watching. But Caboose was the ultimate driver for All Things Video, and we got some of the best we were the only car on the road pacing shots of the big boy. That it's like, oh man, I'm gonna have B-roll for days with this. Look at this. So
B-roll for days.
it was pretty freaking cool. So yeah, it was more than we could ask for. I learned some more about my camera, which I'm always learning about things in videography and cinematography. So I hope you guys bear with me as I screw shit up. So. Anyway, good question, Joey the Cat. Train and Chaser Andy, 2 days before you lose your membership streak. Well, maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe we'll have some kind folks decide to donate some more memberships here. We'll see. You never know. Never expect it. But you might get it. The Railway Nerd, I assume. Thank you for the New Zealand dollar dues. Thank you. Uncle Sean, thanks for the $10 as well. Michael and Bessie, do I have any plans to visit either the B&O Railroad Museum or the Smithsonian or the Virginia Museum of Transportation? I've not been to B&O, and I desperately want to go. Hopefully next year. I don't have plans to go, but I really want to go. I've been to the Smithsonian probably 15 years ago. Awesome. I'd love to go back just for the sake of going back anyway. And my girlfriend's from right around DC, so might be a good excuse to go visit family and see things too. I don't know. We'll see. And Virginia Museum of Transportation, I don't know much about. I saw 611 3 or 4 years ago at Spencer. So I've seen it, but I haven't seen it run. And it sounds like they're having some amount of challenges right now that I don't really know the details of, but there were lots of news headlines and not my place to talk about it. But I hope that they sort things out and she can run some more, because I would love to see that thing turn a wheel. Zimzam gifting 5 memberships. Thank you, friend. Good to see you. Steam Ton 122. Fireman for 13 months. Finally made a stream. I can save my liver. Love that you got to see the large lad, Lord Hyacinth reigneth. Hallelujah. Thank you, my friend. Alex Beck, last one for now. How does a PAL 3 chime whistle sound the way it does? Like a hooter, but a 3 chime. Any insight you can share? The chimes are very disparate. It's like an inverted chord in a guitar, or in anything, an inverted musical chord. Let me grab a guitar. You can have, for example, you could have a D chord, right? Although I'm in E flat, so that's technically a D flat, but whatever. You can have that chord, and it notes-wise is the same as this chord. But one of them has that deep bass note that is not the root of the chord. And so that's basically what's going on with the PAL, is one of the chimes is significantly longer than the other two. And so you get this huge spread where you've got the really deep note and then 2 higher notes, and it gives them that kind of ethereal quality to them. So yeah, good question. Car attendant, any plans on visiting us at NSRM Boulder City for the Railroad Roundup in 2026? You don't have many details besides the year. Planning is behind very closed doors. Currently, event will be similar to the Great Western Steam Up. I heard about it and I put it on my calendar like a year ago when it got announced and the website got posted. So yeah, by all means, when there's more details, let me know. I will be there for sure, unless acts of God or something. Anyway. JSJ Inc., have I heard about the EBT-16? Yes, it's back and it went south The farthest south anyone's been on the railroad in what, 70 years, Midland? Or 60-some years?
68 years.
68 years. So not quite the Titanic meme, but pretty freaking cool.
Not quite, but it was a fun things are happening. Fun things are happening.
You love to see it. And I'll be there in just a few short weeks. So, Dalton Cypher, if I come to Virginia, come visit us at the Old Dominion Chapter and Military Railroad Society. Cool. It would be fun. Thank you. A person 723, hi Hyce, recently picked up threshing machine jack made by Huber Marion, Ohio. How cool. Neat. Uncle Sean, how can a physically disabled person get involved in railroad preservation? There are so many jobs to do in this space that are not just on the engines. Obviously, being in the shop, being on train crew can be very challenging for folks that experience those things. It's the unfortunate reality is a lot of it's really big, hard physical labor. But research, stuff in libraries, we were just talking about all things collections at the museum just yesterday. It's so important to keep that side and the records and all that. You can make an impact that then saves things and helps things and finds things for the things that are restoring locomotives and cars and making things more accurate and doing a job that is really, really critical for a lot of people to have access to. I mean, the only reason museums can restore locomotives and cars and keep things running and doing it right is if they know what the heck they need to be doing. And so plans, documents, little things of telegraph and all that information that you might find sifting through records in an archive, documenting those things, saving them, working on that side of preservation can significantly help many organizations. I know that we're always looking for library volunteers here at the museum too. So there's definitely ways to do it. So
archivists are such a huge help. Someone at another museum, the one out in Silvis, actually found the full electrical diagram set for one of our diesels and sent it to us.
You never know what you're gonna find. So I mean, that's it. It's kind of an unsung hero, but it's a hugely important thing. So, Zimzam, hey, look, you're here. Fireman for 21 months. Would it be possible to make a smaller whistle for live steam that sounds pretty close to a full one? Extra difficulty. It's EBT squeaky at the 17. Squeaks are going to be particularly hard to replicate in a small scale, I think. You can get the pitches just right in a small scale or a large, technically large scale, 7.5 inch gauge engine. You can get the pitches to be right. It's all about the length of the chamber. The challenge of getting the timbre and the feel and the thing of it is that you've got to get the boiler pressure high enough and the volume of steam entering the whistle high enough that you get serious flow through it. And the boilers don't necessarily have enough capacity to sustain that sort of thing in any meaningful way, because you got to have like an inch or inch and a half pipe minimum running into the whistle to get the amount of flow required to get it to really blow at the size and velocity there. I don't think anyone's really done crazy studies on it. You might be able to build one that is radially shrunk down, small enough that it worked, but didn't consume as much steam, but then it might not sound exactly right. The pitches would be right, but live steam, the only thing I don't like about live steam are the whistles because of that sort of thing. Scaling fluid flow is not something one can do, so.
Oh yeah, I can scale fluid flow, I just don't know anything about sound. But I mean, the thing's gonna have a 13.5 inch diameter boiler, so.
Well, that's a sizable boiler. You and I could talk more offline about it. We could try and come up with some stuff, but the biggest thing is you want to have a straight shot with smooth bent pipes so that you're not restricted in small fittings, because it's about flow to the whistle. The small, I mean, people who make the air tank fake whistle situation in their live steam engines, they're still feeding them with small pipes, 3/8 pipe, maybe 1/2 inch pipe, that kind of stuff. So you need more volume of steam is really the answer. So anyway, Bear, how about a trip video to the Nevada Northern Brakeman for 12 months? I'd love to get out there and see that. I've heard that railroad's awesome. I have never made it out there though, and it's not currently on my radar for next year. I need to kind of sit down and plan that maybe at the end of the year here, but we'll see. I would definitely like to go someday. Steam 10 122, and remember, all this made possible from viewers like you. Thank you. Here's something for the casting. Thank you. Yes, that if you didn't hear earlier in other news in terms of either on the videos or on the previous streams, there's high likelihood that we have to pour the first bits of steel for a certain 240 someday. So someday soon. Not that we'd be pouring it, but we need to pay for it. So
We want the Zoomy boy.
we want the Zoomy boy, but yeah, we need to kind of figure that out. If it's only 2 wheels of the 6, we're not in too bad a shape. If we need to get 6 wheels, we're gonna need to figure out some dollar dues pretty quick. But anyway, so on to the questions that have been pre-asked. Love the super chats, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys today starting here.
And just as you see that, another one.
We'll get to John in just a minute. Thank you. John Dearboy asked a question in MOW that I added in. I know Auntie gave him a pretty good answer, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit because it was a neat question. John Dearboy asks, 2-part question for office hours. What would be the ideal clocking offset for the pistons on a simple articulated or duplex locomotive? Second part being the same question, but for a Mally. And it's a neat idea because if you could truly sync up the engines and not run into any issues with that, spoilers, it would make sense to keep the wheels 90 degrees clocked offset as you have on each engine, but then offsetting them by 45 so that you had the most even of power strokes. That would make the most sense for even power distribution at slow speeds. But the reality is that when you're talking about articulating something or moving something and any amount of wheel wear and the engines being disparate, if one engine tries to slip and the other doesn't, because the different axle loadings, you will grenade whatever coupling you have. And as you go into a curve, as the lead engine goes in, it's going around a slightly different radius track and is riding in the suspension different than the rear engine. They're going to disagree. You're going to break things. There's a reason that they never connected the engines and kept them as disparate units. It just makes sense to make it too easy for them to fight. And so most railroads made it so that the wheels were actually slightly different so that they wouldn't sync up constant hammer blow of both engines at the same time. The Penzi would do, what, like a 1/4 inch different on the diameter? Auntie's not here, but anyone know? Something like that. And so it was better to keep them just totally desynced because the synchronizing of the engines for even power strokes only matters at really slow speeds. And you're developing most of your power above that, so you get started, you get rolling, congrats. It doesn't really matter. Yes, you could sync it up perfectly, 90-90, and then 45 offset so that you got 4 even power strokes the whole time. But the reality of engineering that to happen was more expensive than it was worth. So
it seemed like if they were linked up, it'd be like having like a truck in 4-wheel drive, and you try to turn.
Exactly, you'd run into that problem, and it would be like a truck in 4-wheel drive, but with 2 engines running the same drive shaft. So you get a one different condition, and the engines have different power outputs depending on things. It's not a good idea to affix those things together without some kind of clutch. And then you're talking about a gigantic clutch that can take the torque of a steam locomotive. It just becomes very not feasible very quickly. So there's a reason they didn't do it. I'm going to get a couple more of these questions going. I see the top chats coming in. Thank you so much, everybody. But we got to get through a couple more of these. It takes me like 6 months at a time at this point. From T12 Productions. Was it ever possible for the T12s to go 50 to 60 miles an hour? That is what the stories would lead you to believe. They had 48-inch drivers, so I'd bet probably 50. 60 maybe sometimes, maybe downhill. Maybe, it would be plausible. I wouldn't say outright impossible. I wouldn't say outright likely. But I would say plausibly close to 60, yeah. From Fuel Fire, if it were possible, would you guys take it to the 491 to the Cumbres and Toltec? Jeff and I have dreamed about this a bunch. And there may become a time someday in the future that it is possible. It would take a fair amount of money and a really big trailer, but we would all love to see it. Duh. You kidding me? Getting to fire that engine up Cumbres with the siphons? Everyone wants to see that. Literally everyone. Like,
Would you get her stuck in the snow again?
we wouldn't run her during the winter, thankfully, because they don't run in the winter for a reason. And the reason being 491 being stuck in the pretty much. So anyway, yeah. From Railman 45 or Railfan 4501, can I make a video of the history and an overview of the 484 CB and Q loco? History stuff I leave to the museum. For the artifacts that the museum has, the video series that the museum does, big train tours, all that stuff, they are so much more qualified to talk about history things than I am. Paul does great research. He delivers things well. The information's great. And it's a museum talking about its collection in a good way. Like, that just makes too much sense. It doesn't make sense for me to do it. I'm more from the engineering side of things. An overview of the locomotive, like a Loco 360 talking about all the stuff. Modern Steam has so much shit in it that I don't know what it is. I've never run Modern Steam. Looking at the big boy, looking at the 4005 up close, and it's just like, why is there a valve there? What does that valve extension go to? I'm halfway down the boiler. What possibly needs a shutoff valve right here? And talking with Carl, and I mean, they have random crap like, oh, that's the cutout for the blowdown. Why can you cut out the blowdown? Why would you want to do that? Like, okay, maybe the blowdown starts leaking, and then you... But, like, it's strange. The amount of modernity and things there, I would have to do a crap ton of research to become confident in it, which would make a neat video, but makes it really hard video. And I'm already struggling at doing research in advance of doing videos anyway, so... Anyway, that's the end of a page here on pre-asked questions, so back to John Kissinger here. As a fun side video, would you be up to doing a video reviewing trains in video games like the engine in Metro or the Nuke Steam engine in Fallout 4? I need to. I did a live stream talking about the trains in Red Dead Redemption 2, but it deserves its own video. The GTA video is a ton of fun to do. So I definitely should do more train video game stuff like that. Because it's always fun to be like, oh wow, they got this so right, but this so wrong. So, anyway, Winnie Fox, conductor for 14 months. Woo! Also, next time you're 9, the West, or when I'm in the West Coast, you should check out the Nevada County Narrow Gauge. I need to. I got friends that volunteer there. I want to come see those engines and see their little porter in its natural habitat. I've heard the railroad's a little silly too, so. Crimson Rose, Fireman 20 months. Hey, Hyce, you got any advice for someone getting into model railroads? Also, Lionel scale or HO scale? Just start. Figure out what you can do in the space you have, and start planning and start learning the skills. You're gonna screw up a bunch of crap the first time through, so put a mark on the paper. Make the in the SpongeBob letter. You gotta get started somehow, and the sooner you start, the more you learn, the more ready you will be to build something that's really cool. And the scale, that's up to you. Lionel is not necessarily a scale. O and 3-rail O is kind of its own whole thing. There is some stuff that is scale there. There's some stuff that's semi-scale. It's kind of hard. Some people say it's more toy train than model train, but there are some really nice models in that scale and gauge. HO scale is the most common. You can build a bigger layout or more interactive or more interesting layout in the same space as O. You can have more track and that kind of stuff. And it's usually generally cheaper. So, that's all up to you. Both are cool. I mean, I've got some Lionel and I've got some HO scale stuff. So, and I've got SN3 surrounding me. So I'm not the best reference as someone to talk to about these things because my primary favorite is Unobtainium. So anyway. Oh my goodness, the chat just jumped. Got plenty of people going here. So let's see. From O'Nelly, conductor for 20 months. Whoa, 20 months. Also, almost got 2 years on the ES&D. When am I getting my packing peanuts, Birdman? Sometime very soon. This was the funniest text to get earlier today. I got a text from Dusty, and it was just, somebody sent this for you? And somebody mailed addressed to me, to the museum, just a giant bag of packing peanuts. It made me giggle. I still need to get a P.O. box, because I hate having the museum take mail for me and everything, but one of you nerds out there was a shit post, and it was pretty funny, so anyway. We'll get the packing peanuts to the train crew members here shortly. Robert Valdez, Hyce, you went to the bar with the guys, and your wife called and said be home, in 10 minutes or I'm going to give your food to the dog. I was home in 5 because for the dog's sake. Oh my god. It's a good dad joke. Thank you. Mage Leader, heard you're a fan of Narrow Gauge. I'm a conductor at Main Narrow Gauge in Portland. You should swing by and check out Engine 7 sometime. One of the most beautiful locos that Baldwin ever built. I want to come see the 2-foot gauge. Yeah, for sure. I need to get up there. It's also on the list. And I've got a friend that lives up that way. Shout out Admiral Ellis. So I know that I can make it happen one of these days. So anyway, probably next year again, but... Osage Orange Gaming. Hi, Hyce. Hope you're at the crazy life and Century Steam. Yes, got some sanity in it these days. Also, it's time for a grand trunk. My audio interfaces software is still broken, so I can't put the reverb on. I'm sorry. I can only just do a dry grand trunk. I can't do a wet grand trunk. Single tier. Anyway, yes, I haven't done much for Century Steam since earlier this month, if I'm being honest. I actually did a little bit today. Thankfully, the rest of the team is taking the August video for me, which they're working on it, so should be coming shortly here. But thank you, my friend. Fuzzcopter, opinion on 3D printed HO railcars. They can be really cool. They can be a fair amount of work to do, but I had one of the members of the channel, I think it was Nicholas something, I'm sorry. There's so many of you to keep track of. Was it Nicholas Adkinson, maybe? I'm so sorry, I forgot your name. But he 3D printed me the Deerell Valley caboose, a box car, and a stock car in HO scale, and lettered them up for the ES&D, and it was very sweet. And they looked really cool. Or they look really cool. They're downstairs. I'll probably have them on the tail end of a train being hauled by the large lad in a video here in the near future. But they're neat. Sometimes getting the right printer and setting things up can be hard, but it's cool. Colton's Taylor, fireman for 20 months, the big 20, and you just got the job at Mid-Continent Railway Museum after being a brakeman all summer. Very exciting. Dude, you're doing the thing. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. You'd love to hear it. Person 723, could you use a fluid coupling to sync 2 engine sets? It would slip if the engines tried to fight against each other. That would be the way to do it, would be to use some kind of fluid coupling situation. But at the end of the day, the space, it's just not worth it. Like, you could engineer this. You could make this, and then you would be the next candidate for Cursed Train Stream. They tried this, and it didn't work, and they only made one of them. So, yeah. Oh, good. Zimzam's telling me that Leighton's got a prototype Nuke Splody Boy that's 3D printed. I've got one in SN3 that needs the trucks mounted on it that you sent me, and I've got other things that I need to mail back to you. I'm aware. They're over there. One of these days. Anyway. Texas Keykeeper, conductor for 8 months, hi from Central Texas, grew up making yearly trip with dad to explore the RGS remains. Your channel made me get into trains again, narrow gauge forever. If you got to explore all the stuff on the RGS as a kid, like, come on, man. Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Zimzam, go to post office. If I must. Robert Valdez, what was my favorite part when you got to see the German steam? Are the Shays and the F3/7s able to run at the museum? Can I do whistle tag with BNSF trains with your 6 chime on 491? So many questions. The German steam was so freaking cool. All of the European stuff was so freaking cool. It was so neat to see stuff that's so different. The differences, some were strange to me, some were great, some were smart right away. But learning how other people solved the same problems we did was really cool to see. You know, the German engines were a little bit more close to what I know, and so I tended to like them because they're familiar, and that's kind of how things work. But yeah, it was neat. The Shays are out of service. They've been out of service for a long time. We don't own them. They last ran in like 2011 or 2012. They're owned by a private individual. They're not our machines, so we don't do work on them and we don't run them. The Fs, they're F9s, so they're quite late. They're also not able to run. They're on standard gauge. They're standard gauge. We don't have a whole lot of standard gauge track. They're on an island track, and they kind of got disabled by the railroad, as far as I've been told, when they were parked, and then they've been parked for a while, and the engines are seized. So that's the unfortunate reality, but, you know, not everything has to run. And whistle tag, it just depends on if BNSF shows up when we're there and if they feel like playing. They don't always blow back at us. We try, though. Texas Keykeeper gifting 5 memberships. Thank you, my friend. Narrow gauge forever. All right. Back to the pre-asked questions here from Dat Guy Miller. Could any of the engines at the museum move an entire circle of rolling stock, the same train going all the way around the circuit, coupling to both ends? And if such a thing were to exist, what would happen if you tried to move? 491 might have the huevos to do it if it had 200 psi and you used lighter cars. I don't think we have enough cars that actually roll that we could even do that, and getting the length to work out with drawbars, and it's a lot more possible on your model train set than it is on a real railroad. I don't know what would happen. I guess you'd take slack and then things would move, and you would still have to work it when the heaviest part of the train got up to the hill, which would be the engine. So yeah. Mateo Quo, how does a steam run injector work? That is a loaded question that we probably don't have time to get into for this stream.
Magic.
I need to do that. It's a bunch of cones. It's just a bunch of fluid mechanics. It's actually relatively simple if you understand fluid mechanics, but you need about a year of fluid mechanics to understand it. That's the challenging part. And were purely mechanical pumps ever used? Lots of them in the early days. Crosshead pumps, axle pumps. Montezuma had an axle pump. The Glenbrook's got crosshead pump on the one side. I think Eureka's got 2 crosshead pumps, or at least it did at one time in its life. I'm not sure if it still does now, etc. Plenty of them were early on, but the challenge with that is that it's a lot of extra maintenance versus a thing. Yeah. Brett Rebuild B1 V1 equal P2 V2. That's how an injector. No. It's not how an injector. But yes, but no, but yes. Yeah. Frantas Remota, I think. 1359. Is it possible to have an engine with a 4-12-12-4 wheel arrangement? Yeah, it's possible to have an engine with any wheel arrangement. Did anyone make one? No, because that would be very silly. RKPR 9370, do steam locomotives with both inside and outside cylinders have more than 4 chuffs per wheel rotation? It depends on their setup. 3-cylinder engines, yes, have 6. Whether or not they're 6 stupid or 6 smart ones depends on how Union Pacific they are. But because I've always heard, I'll draw this in paint.net here. The reason that you get 4 chuffs per revolution is the power strokes, right? So if you got your piston over here, and when your piston's at the back, the rod's at the back, blah, 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 here's your wheel. Okay, so your piston exhausts when it gets to here and when it gets to here. So that means this piston exhausts at those 2 locations. So in one rotation, you get 2 chuffs from this piston. You add a second piston on the other side that's clocked 90 degrees out of phase, so that you can't really stall, or that you have a much harder time stalling, rather. And he's up there, and he chuffs at the up and down positions, right? I've heard mixed things, and I'd love to go stare at the 9000 or hear from someone who knows the 9000, that what they did for the 9000s was that rather than time everything at 120 degrees to make it even, they just slapped the third one in the middle. And I don't know if this is true or not, but that means that it was connected in between, and so you'd get this kind of galloping chuff, 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 space, chuff, 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 space, chuff, chuff, which is still 6 chuffs per evolution, but goofy. The sane people over in Europe spaced everything at 120 degrees so that you had chuffs, here, you get 6 even ones, and it just kind of gets a you get a very even sound out of something like the Mallard or any of those other British or German or whoever 3-cylinder engines. They balanced things out because it made sense. I heard UP did this. I don't have a source, but they had even spacing. Okay, then I will tell everyone that has told me that they're full of shit. I've always told them that they were full of shit, but the Howard Fogg recording makes it sound like that. Yeah, it's just because it was way out of time. Anyway. Good. I'm glad that somebody knows. Yes, the Gresley conjugated gear is what they had on the front. That makes way too much sense. So don't pay attention to me. I'm believing myths from people who told me that I was a fucking moron when they were being fucking morons. It's funny how often that works. Anyway. But yes, you get 6 chuffs per evolution. And then the 4-cylinder engines, I don't know. I don't know if they're spaced further or if they just balance each other out. I'd imagine they'd balance each other out and you get 2 cylinders exhausting at the same time. I don't know. That's a question for someone who knows European choo-choos.
It really depends on how the crank throws are set up.
Right.
You have one half set 90-90 and the other half set 90-90 to itself, or you go 90-90-90-90.
Right. But I mean, if you do 90-90-90, etc., you're going to get 2 that line up, right? So, I don't know. You'd have to have something offset at a 45, right? You'd have to have the 2 engines, so I would assume they wouldn't do that. But maybe they do. Not my expertise. From Drew Barker, simple question today: how difficult is it to horse the bar around under load on any of your engines if you absolutely had to do it? I'm sure it's not really needed in the conditions at your museum, but still. Man, do I really want to show a video clip that I probably shouldn't. Man, I really want to show a video clip that I probably shouldn't. Brett, do I have your permission? Are you still watching? Can I show the video of Engineer S? because it explains this point quite well. I don't want to throw the kid too under the bus. Video? It's not his video, he's afraid. Single tier. Okay, so I won't share it then. Yes, there's a video of that exists, but it depends on the type of gear and the type of valves. If you've got a lot of throttle on and you've got slide valves and Stevenson gear, it will take you for a ride. Oh, Brett's said Jeff has a video of him. Okay, so we'll throw Brett under the bus if he can find it. Cool. It is amazing how much they will try and take you for a ride. If you've got piston valves, Walshart's gear, it is so much easier. That said, you can still get into trouble. Particularly, I mean, they will take the bar from you and throw it in the corner. They love to do that. It's their favorite trick. I remember I learned that. I was kind of getting comfortable running the 491 Day Out with Thomas, like 2015. I'd started to run more and more, and I was getting qualified as an engineer back in the day. And I was coming into the station with, 10 car train, 330 people or whatever it was on it. And I wanted a little bit more as I was coming into the station with the brake set behind me. And I had the throttle open a bit, and I went to click the bar down, and she tossed it in the corner, and I did a burnout in place. Walked it in, stopped. And I got off the engine, and Mad Jack Campbell, CMO at the time, above the other human we don't need to mention, walks up to me and he goes, "Bet you'll never do that again, huh?" And I was like, "No, I learned my lesson." He goes, "No, you'll do it again. It happens." So it was pretty funny. Anyway, let's see. Let me scroll up to make sure I don't lose chat here. Okay. I've got a couple more questions on this page that I want to get to, just 3 more, and then we'll go back to top chats. Again, thank you guys for your love and support here. Wings and Fries asking what happened to Deral Valley. That's how long ago these questions were asked, so that must have been circa March or so. I took a little video game break for a bit then, so yeah. We're back. We've obviously been back. Trains and theatricals. I'm currently working on a Railroad Museum-esque model layout. It's a standard 4x8. It's inspired by the CRRM, but based in rural Pennsylvania. Do I have any tips on modeling a museum-type layout if you were to design one? I would not model it with the real grades the Colorado Railroad Museum actually has, because what a clusterfuck for a model train set. If you want to be able to switch anything anywhere with non-operative handbrakes in HO scale, yeah, it doesn't exactly buff. So that'd be my biggest tip.
Well, unless you're BMIC, because he figured out how to put operating handbrakes on HO.
I'm sure it's doable. I'm sure it's just a pain in the ass.
Correct.
Good for BMEC. Major Stink. Hi, Hyce. Watching your Montezuma streams, people are always suggesting giving it a superheater. Your question is, what exactly does superheating steam do? Does it add more power in any way? Superheating steam makes the steam super hot. like literally. That's what it does. The way it works is that you take the steam from the boiler and plumb it through Stream Deck while you no work. Stream Deck. Hang on. I want to be able to switch to paint.net. Wake up and smell the coffee, bud. There we go. Goodness, I had to open the software and it was like, ugh. Okay, you have a boiler here, right? It's kind of shaped like that. It's fine. It's got water in it. It's got a firebox. You get tubes, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to draw one big tube for the sake of organization here. Technically, it'd be a flue, but whatever. You've got one big flue there. So normally, you've got your steam dome, your throttle's in there. Where is my color wheel? Oh, I hate it when stuff disappears. View, no. Adjustment. Where's... I'm sure it's some easy hotkey to bring that back up, but I don't know where it went. Oh, no, it's a button right there. There we go. I use MS Paint more than I use whatever. But anyway, you normally have your throttle valve in the steam dome. On a small engine, on big engines, you have front-end throttles, or modern engines. Some small engines did have them. But either way, you get your steam up in there. Steam's all in this space. It goes up in through the throttle valve, down the dry pipe. Normally, it just runs down to the cylinders. Congrats, there you go. When you have a superheated locomotive, you have a superheater header, which distributes it into a bunch of little pipes that run from the front tube sheet to near the back tube sheet, or the rear tube sheet, back up to the front, back up to the back, and then back up to the front again, recollect. So you get 4 times down the flue that this little pipe full of steam goes, then it delivers to the cylinders. So as you're working the engine really hard and you've got a crazy fire and the exhaust gases are super hot, you're taking steam at, if you're at 200 psi, you're at about 380-ish degrees Fahrenheit. You're taking that steam at 380-ish degrees Fahrenheit and taking it up above 750, 800 degrees Fahrenheit. You're making it a lot hotter. And what that means is that it expands a lot more. Steam versus water expands 1,700 times. So if you have a gallon of water, it turns into 1,700 gallons of steam. I don't remember the exact ratio for superheat. It depends on the amount of superheat. But that number goes up a lot. And so you get a huge efficiency boost. You're wasting less water because the water that's in the boiler creating the steam is expanding so much more before it goes into the engine. It can do more work with the energy it has. It doesn't make the locomotive more powerful because the pressure doesn't change. You're not adding more force. You're just adding more ability for the steam to expand, which means that when the piston opens up, it fills up more quickly with less of the supplied steam because the steam is so ready to expand some more. It's a little complicated in theory, but a very important thing. It's a huge efficiency boost. So, good question. I need to do a 101 video on that.
There's a Mollier diagram in VC text if you need it.
Oh, that would be great. Yes, enthalpy versus pressure. Yeah, so if you're under pressure at any point before the critical point here, under certain temperatures and all that stuff, under certain pressures, temperatures, they're linked. You can be liquid water, you could be a mixture when you're under pressure. You're liquid and steam, that's what saturated steam is right in here. Versus saturated liquid. So when you're in this zone here, this is most of what's going on inside your boiler. You get to a certain point and you've gotten a certain high enthalpy, which is a really fancy thing in thermodynamics that I don't remember the exact definition, but pretend it's really hot. When you get into that space, that's when you start getting superheat type situations. So you get a ton more expansion in this region than you do in this region. So anyway. It's been a long time since thermo. It has been a decade since thermo. Remembering enough of it for programming certain things has been a challenge, and thankfully Goose is more recently out of college than I am, so... Anyway, let me get these top chats here. 94 Chevy Z71. How hard would it be to convert a manually operated turntable like at the CRM to hand crank powered, if not electric, if it is justifiable? Seen a segment about turntables on Innovation Nation on CBS last Saturday. I've been meaning to do a Turntables 101 video for a while because I've got some good footage of Durangos and R's and all that. and some of BNSF's actually. But electric is a fair amount of work because it's a bit more infrastructure. The easy thing to do on a manual turntable like ours is put an air or steam engine on it. That's what Durango has. They have an air engine on the one end. And so if you don't balance things, but you put the weight to give tractive effort to the wheel that it runs, it'll run. And that's actually how our turntable started. We got the turntable, and I think we sold the engine to Durango because we didn't need it. We're not turning that many engines a day, and if we at the time we sure as hell weren't going to be turning a K37. Here we now are, but even then, one guy can push the K37 around. But it's not too hard to do an air engine type setup. Steam engine means you want to have shop steam, so that's a little bit more. Electric is a little bit more infrastructure to bring in the power drop, and then of course the assembly over the top to bring power to the motors with the there's a word for the type of slip ring. Yeah, to the slip ring to bring power down into the turntable itself. So that's a fair bit more work, but still not impossible. It could be done, right? But yeah, not important in our case. So, good question. Alex Towles, ES&D engineer for 17 months. You live near the B&O shops in Martinsburg, West Virginia. The oldest still standing structure is from 1866 and was a rebuild after the 1840s roundhouse was destroyed by Jackson in the Civil War and had a part in the 1877 railroad strike. Wow. That's cool. That's ancient railroad history in terms of stuff in the U.S. That's got to be neat. Paraclasm, excited for the EBT. Yes, I'm not even thinking about it right now, honest to God, because I'm going to Durango next week. Like, I've got one trip in between me and the EBT trip, so I'm not even really thinking about the EBT trip yet, and I really need to book flights. But I just now kind of got a schedule nailed down, so I'm gonna figure that out. So, but yes, either way, I am excited. God, they're expanding the track. I'm gonna meet with Jonathan. We're gonna talk about it. Do another video probably. I'm gonna play the guitar. They asked me, like, the reason I'm going is because I got asked to play guitar at the Ragtime Festival at the station at EBT. It's like they want me for the guitar stuff. Hell yeah! So I need to figure out which tunes are gonna be the best for me to fill out at close to an hour set list as one guitar, because a lot of my stuff's busy and has a lot of parts, and it's just gonna be me. So it's gonna be interesting. Let's see. Andrew Lucia, 4-cylinder locomotives can have their inside cranks at 45 degrees to the outside ones, giving 8 exhaust beats per revolution. This arrangement actually reduces hammer blow and chance of slipping. That makes sense. I wasn't sure if you'd just try and counteract the weight and have them exactly offset so that you had 2 pistons that were doing this, which would, might help. I don't know. I wasn't sure. But 45 degrees reducing hammer blow, it makes it smaller things more often, which is less fatigue stress. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So yeah, you would get 8 chuffs per revolution then, because you're getting chuffs there and there, there and there, and then there and there, and there and there. That's pretty rad. Cool. Thank you so much for the info, Andrew, and then, of course, the top chat as well. Mage Leader, if you ever want to come to Maynara Gauge, let Matt or Griffin know. Always thrilled to have more steam engineers around, even for a day. Gladly. I only know a couple folks up there, but, I mean, yeah, if you shoot me their contact, I would love to let them know when I get up there, so. Allergy season is 365 days a year for me. Apologies, everybody. 4 doors, more horrors. He's back from school in Lyle, Illinois, and you're now an ASE Cert F9R diesel mechanic. Also, what is the worst day I had working for BNSF? Congrats on that, dude. That's awesome. 19 months as a fireman. The worst day I had was January 1st, 2018, when a locomotive whose number I thankfully don't remember dumped all of its crankcase oil all over the ground. And we had to call the EPA and the whole 9 yards. Yeah, that was not a good day. Yeah, I don't think I could tell that story on stories from the well, maybe I could. Maybe. I don't know. It's probably old enough. I don't know. I don't know if they'd get mad if I told that story or not. Because it was directly management fault. What else is new? We had to deal. It was a fun time. It was only like a couple $100,000 worth of damage. It's fine. Anyway. Corbinator, any suggestions for N-scale track nails? Something itty-bitty. I have no idea. I've never done N-scale anything. HO scale is the smallest I've ever done. Now, HON3 technically. I used to have some HON3 stuff, but I sold it to Brett in a part of a strange three-way trade. Catfish Kid 1986. Brakeman for 8 months. Just what you need tonight on lunch at work. Thanks. Glad you're enjoying. So, Brooks Moses, thank you for reminding me of this. Enthalpy is basically thermal energy plus pressure volume pressure energy. That makes sense. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Brew the Boomer, how could I get a CAD file of the Huber 6? I want to 3D print one and maybe try to cast one in aluminum. That would be neat. The CAD file does not exist anymore. The laptop that I made the CAD file on went dead. I got some of it drawn up in SolidWorks, but yeah, it's not terribly complicated. Shoot me an email and I could get you some dimensions if you want. Thank you. Craig Bryant, hey Hyce, could you find some old footage of 491 when she was operational for commercial use? I'd like to see video of her pulling some major tonnage that she was built for. Very much appreciated. There is some that exists. I can't share it because I don't own the rights to it. And the footage that I'm aware of, unfortunately, the gentleman who owns the rights to it just recently passed away. R.I.P. Greg Scholl. I don't know what other footage exists out there specifically of 91. None of it has sound, the original sound. It's all dubbed sound from what I can recall. There are some DVDs out there and she's in them, but yeah, it's mostly direct-to-video stuff. So, yeah. So, good question, though. Anyway, going to the pre-asked questions, we'll do a couple more of these, then I'm going to want to take a restroom break, I think. But let's see. Walter Johnson. 1, what is my least favorite railroad? And 2, will I ever make a video for the Victorian Iron Horse Roundup? Also, thank you for everything you do. My least favorite railroad? I don't necessarily have a least favorite. Oh, and Brett says, yes, there is a sound recording of Peaches going up Coombrace. That's a Howard Fogg recording. There is no video, though. So, yeah. And then will I ever make a video for the Victorian Iron Horse Roundup? We kind of did with Nick, with Hovey, a couple months ago, which would have been after this question was asked. I don't have a ton of footage from that event, although I think I have more than I remember. Let's look while we're thinking in ADHD land, shall we? Why not? Because I took a bunch of pictures. It was the first day I had my Canon that was my primary camera until I got the Sony, and I took a lot of pictures. That's what this was the trip that I took the Windows stock background, like the Windows XP stock background picture of RGS20 that I use for my desktop background. It's not that one. That one's poorly lit. But that one's not centered. It's one of these. One of these where it just turns out it's just so pretty. The clouds were just so perfect. It ended up being a great shot. But I took a bunch of lots of stills because I was learning the camera. I don't know how many videos did I take. Apparently some, and I have some of 20's first runs out on the rails, like doing the thing for real, and Brett and I chasing in the truck, and then I rode behind the wood burners, and then some videos that I shot from afar of the rest of the engines. So, yeah, I could probably put some of that footage together and make a thing. It's been a while, so anyway. Oh, and this whole time I was like, I'm showing my screen. No, I was not. That's fine. Took lots of pictures of things. Mostly pictures, just a couple videos. But anyway, it was a great trip. This was the desktop background pictures that I was talking about. Was one like this. Just pretty clouds, pretty thing, the whole thing. So anyway. Let's see, I've got a couple top chats we'll grab these couple top chats that I'm going to use the restroom here. So, from Alex Beck, why do different materials sound different? from whistles, steel versus brass, etc.? I don't have a hard answer on this. I want to test it because the science. I have a copy of the book The Engine's Moan, which is all about American steam whistles, and it's got a lot of great info about whistle builders and who made whistles and the history of whistles and whistle nomenclature and how a single note whistle is not a chime whistle and all this crazy stuff. But you get to the end and the last chapter is like, how does a whistle work? And the opening sentence is basically like, no one knows how the steam whistle works, but here is how a pipe organ works, and it's kind of the same thing-ish. And I got so mad reading that because it's like, no, it's so similar, but no, that's not this. Like, they're different because of the It was very annoying. So I want to do more whistle science, and I'm hoping to when I'm down in Kentucky. And I haven't had any luck reaching out to other collaborators with slow motion cameras. I might just have to buy a sort of slow motion camera and just deal with it. So that's casual $1,000, unfortunately, I think, but that's fine. I'll get more use out of it for other 1000 FPS needs, I guess. But sorry, go ahead, Zimzo.
I'm gonna bring that up at work tomorrow because our CMO got his start working on pipe organs.
I would love to hear what he would have to say.
And he's been working with steam since he was like 14 in Germany. So
he would have some opinions on it. I'd love to hear what he'd have to say.
I will write it down.
My honest to God, like they're similar and they have a similar mechanic, but it's not the same from what I recall. So anyway, but as far as different materials, my guess, this is my hypothesis. This is not a theory. This is not tested. This is not proven, but the the whistle makes its sound because it is steam pressurizing and depressurizing a chamber at a rate. So the chamber's length from the striking surface is what causes it. It takes the time to fill that chamber and then evacuate that chamber, and it's the steam itself that is causing the sound. It's like when you roll the window down in the car, you get the helicopter sound in your ear. It's your car rapidly pressurizing, depressurizing. It's the same thing. In a steam whistle, it's just so much smaller, it creates a pitch that's not so bassy that you can actually hear it. And it's close to a quarter wave generator, where you get whatever the length of striking surface is a quarter of the wavelength that the sound produces, from the interior top cap to where the striking edge is. Couple things seem to change that, and I think this is the material thing. Certain materials are smoother than others on the inside and might allow the chamber to be filled slightly more quickly or slightly less quickly, giving a different timbre as the steam is flowing in and leaving out. Because it is not the whistle itself that is resonating. The whistle does not vibrate. It is just the physical fluid itself that's doing the thing. That I do know. The speed of flow based on how sticky or smooth the wall is, that's what I think the material difference is. I don't know for sure, though. I haven't tested yet, so. Go ahead, Corey.
I got something to add. Also, the density of the material and the flexibility of the material can have a huge impact on that high reverberation. So that could play a part of it as well.
Sure. I guess at a microscopic level, when you've pressurized it, you would be deforming things slightly. So lighter density and a lighter rigidity would affect that somewhat. I don't think that's as big of an effect as the surface smoothness, because the whistle's hardly ever completely pressurized in that moment. It's so instantaneous.
But you got to remember, as that pressure, the sound is vibrating through it, the bell is actually vibrating as well. So the sound traveling through the bell could play a part of it.
It could. I would love to know how much of a part of it is, but that's something that needs to be studied. But to my understanding, that the bell, like, if the bell was truly vibrating and sympathetically vibrating with the chimes, a chime whistle that is built out of one bell with shared walls would not work. It would not work anywhere near the same as a pure single note. And maybe that's part of the reason that there's a timbral difference between single notes and chime whistles. I don't know. These are all things that I wish I could devote a crap ton of time to study, but, we'll take a couple years and do it, I guess. But anyway, great question, Alex, and hopefully that was at least the nerdy conversation you were looking for. The new IKB 4472. If you want to read something about cursed British trains, you can recommend The Chronicles of Bolton's Siding. Some truly cursed engines. I mean, we do love that. Shoot me in an email. Maybe we'll make it into a thing. Anyway, Pyroclasm, hope to see you there. What time is your set? You'll have your son, too. He'll want to take a ride while you're there. God, I think my set is from 11 to noon. Let me look real quick. La 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 la. Let me make sure I'm not quoting something stupid. Let me double check. Yeah, 11 to noon on the September 14th, Saturday, September 14th. So that's when I'm playing at East Broad Top. So Crimson Rose, is something rare going on in your state of Kentucky? Yes, there's a whistleblow event that I will be at on Saturday, October 5th, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, check out Kentucky Steamed, their website. I'll be there. I'm hopefully going to bring my whistle. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun. So, yeah. Brooks Moses, test with big magnets stuck on a steel whistle. Yeah, we could try that. Assuming they wouldn't get thrown off by the steam cloud. That would be an interesting. That'd be an interesting
have it
test.
On the bell.
Well, but the exterior, the steam, the knife edge cuts the steam, and you get a cloud around it. If you have the bell, if you have a magnet close to the bell at the bottom, there's a high likelihood it gets thrown off. But there's a high likelihood that would work as a test. Yeah, that's an easy enough test to try in October here. Mason Kuykendall, what is the hole going through the fingers of a knuckle coupler? I know they used to be for pins and Lincoln pin. Yeah, for a split face knuckle. The hole through the rest of the knuckle, I think, is just to stick a stick through to help carry it, isn't it? Am I totally full of shit? I don't remember. The hole in the knuckle itself, right? I think that's what it is. I don't know. Anyway, there's the top chats. I need to go use the restroom. And I will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Entertain the folks. Parkour! Parkour!
You got in right as he went potty.
Yeah, that figures.
Damn.
Howdy, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Why is this thing so quiet? Oh, that's why. I fixed it, I believe. Either that or I'm just...
There it is.
Oh yeah, that's way better.
Hey, Sean J Animations. K-Kid's thing didn't go through. You should be able to scroll up and see it. Everybody's so talkative right now.
I don't know. I haven't done anything interesting at the railroad. All I've done is rewire a headlight.
No, you made some pipe fuck shit.
Oh yeah, I did make some pipe fuck shit. It doesn't count as fuck shit. It fit perfectly. It was within like a 32nd of an inch of perfection.
Not good enough. Do it again.
Well, considering the pipe cutter was broken and I did it all by hand, I'm pretty happy with that.
Oof.
That's impressive, though.
Wait, what did you do?
I was adding a way to put shop air on the air quotes new diesel so that we can pressurize it from the shop compressor for testing and setting brakes and stuff for doing, whatever, without having to start the engines.
I mean, whatever works, I guess.
It's also a really good way to dump all the air off of it when you have to go work on a stuck air solenoid and you don't want to get blasted in the face with air.
No, always air, all the time.
Yeah.
You know what you guys should do? You should take all your 80 tonners and do an 80 turner of fucking elephant walk. Just all 80. Oops, all 80 tonners.
Can you elephant walk 80 tonners since they're center cabs?
Maybe.
I mean,
funny.
Consider reverser direction, I guess.
And they don't have MUs, so we'd need like 6 engineers. 4. Yeah, only 4 run.
Nope, gotta have them all.
Well, look, one of the blocks in them has like a picture window to see the internals. It's really great for teaching people how engines work. Not so great for engines running.
Well, you only need one engine.
Yeah, kinda. Except the other engines just had all its parts stolen to keep the rest of them running. Actually, no, it hasn't. It has not. I lied.
Stealing parts to keep things running? What?
Never.
Never.
Who could do that?
Never happens.
Never happens. I mean, we have like an entire spare power assembly, like crankshaft and everything for it, but...
Yeah.
But we were talking about the block with a picture window in it. Good for teaching, bad for running.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen several of those in my time, and those are always fun. Potato Notosaurus. What a great username. Do you think that SNA 750 could be restored to running condition? You're asking as a potential buyer and active preservationist. I don't know what engine that is, but let's look it up and see what we can see from the internet, which is probably not much. The short answer is all of them can run. It's just how much time and millions of dollars do you need? So I assume it's this Savannah and Atlanta 750. 462. That's a pretty looking engine. Okay, 1910, not 20. Ugh.
Was that one of the like Allegheny Central engines on the former before it became Western Maryland Scenic? No, those were Canadian. Never mind.
It's a nice looking engine. It's got pretty good proportions, although the boiler is pretty small. I guess it's probably a light Pacific. It's an Alco.
Is it USRA light? Or, no, that's 1910.
Yeah, it's 1910, so it's before USRA. So it's kind of early.
Intriguing.
It ran in excursion service until 1989. Okay, and it's in Duluth, Georgia on display. Since rebuilding a locomotive would be too costly, well, it's always a thing. So the Southern ran it. Okay. Firebox is worn out. I mean, this is all. You know, this is interesting. It's a hard thing to say. You'd have to do a actual survey of the engine, and you'd have to look it over in person. And you can do a fair amount of survey without taking it apart. You can't do a total survey. You can't do a total cost estimate, but you could take a UT tester and test the external of the firebox and go, okay, is it clapped? Get permission to go in the firebox, do a UT of the inside of the firebox. That'd tell you pretty quick in a visual of all that stuff whether or not it's totally ruined or okay. You can look at
you poke your finger through the firebox?
Yeah, basically. I mean, you do that sort of stuff. If they're saying that the firebox was wore out in the 80s, before the new law, that doesn't bode well. I will say that. Could it be restored and bought and everything? Sure. Could it take $6 million? Sure. If it's actually in really good shape, maybe it would only take $2 million. But, you know, it's a question. You'd have to do the assessment. And there's plenty of firms out there that would do it for you. So, break out your checkbook, and I hope your pockets are deep. The Red Bearded Bard gifting a membership, thank you. And Blues Crew gifting 5 memberships. Good to see you here. All right, I'm gonna try and get some of these pre-asked questions, although I see Sitz has sent a question here that somebody asked in the chat. How often do you have to clean the dynamic brake grids? And have I ever seen them melted? I don't remember if that was a line item on maintenance or not. I assume so. It was on a semi-annual or annual. I don't know though. It's been too long. It's been a couple years since I've been on the railroad. Have I ever seen them melted? Oh yeah. Oh, plenty of times.
I've melted down a couple.
I was gonna say that they like to do that. The grids like to become very glowy and then very melty very quickly. Zimzam gifting a membership. Thank you, friend, as well.
I mean, it's just a 600-volt toaster.
Yeah, pretty much. A toaster with many amps going through it sometimes. Jonathan Coleman, more trains. When am I going to be in Pennsylvania again? Because Reading Northern 21-2 will be going to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania on May 25th. The next two be going up Lehigh Gorge past Pittston, Pennsylvania on June 22nd, stopping at Pittston on August 17th. You'd like to see me again in the future. Ha. You can see how old these questions are. I'm next going in early mid-September. Probably be there 10th through the 14th, something like that, I think. See what the calendar says. Yeah, I'd probably be flying in on the 9th, late on the 9th, and I'd probably be in Pennsylvania from the 10th through the 14th and heading back this way on the 15th. So I need to book all that and figure that out for sure, but that's kind of what it's looking like. So no 2102 this trip, single tier. If they announce some stuff in October, I will probably be not wanting to go anywhere because this has been the summer of travel for me, and I haven't had like a normal just week and not feeling like I'm doing too much in quite some time. So I honest to God would like to just kind of get back to that. And then 2, what finish should you get for your HO scale Union Pacific Big Boy? You've probably bought it by now. Standard finish or glossy. I've got the glossy downstairs from BLI. It is gorgeous. I mean, it's pretty, but it very much is excursion spectacular, the whole thing. So yeah, that's a thing. So Fuzzcopter, you had a friend with a twin cylinder steam engine. He went bankrupt and committed tax fraud. Any similar stories? None that I can tell on stream. Thank you though. Mike B now coming in with 50 memberships. Somebody recently was telling me that I need to just say to hell with YouTube and their crappy API and just make buttons. I think it was Jersey. It's Jersey or Pancakes yesterday was telling me to to just do that. And it's like, yeah, I didn't do that before stream because I didn't think about it because of course I don't think about the thing till it's in front of my face because that's life with ADHD. But anyway, I can still do this. Thank you to Mike B. Yes, thank you, my friend. 50 memberships. Let the economy be broken. Economy should be scared. Anyway.
The bird starting video is pinned in MOWVC text.
The bird starting video is a lot of time, though. It is hilarious, but it is a lot of time. Craig Bryant, talking about restoring just your own guests from off the top of my head. How much would it cost to restore any of the Big Boy steam locomotives compared to build a Big Boy completely by scratch, coal use only? Dude. Those engines, I mean, looking at 4005, she's tired. Looking at the work they did to 4014, I mean, yeah, you're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars. You're talking probably, I mean, to build one brand new, they have so many ridiculous castings that it makes more sense to restore one. To restore one, though, you're talking about $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $11, $12, $15 million. You know, you're not getting out of there under 5 mil, basically, if you want to actually restore it and do it right. If you want to fire one up the old school scary way, engineering ethics tells me that I shouldn't say anything. But yeah, if you wanted to,
I'm like, no.
So, I mean, truly getting one of those to run again burning coal and everything, I mean, you're asking for millions and millions of dollars. There's a reason that it took so long to get one running, and it didn't even become a possibility for so long. And there's a reason they made it burn oil. A very simple, easy to understand reason too. But God, it would be cool to see a coal burning one. But it would be neat, but neat for the cost of two millions. Yeah.
Theoretically, it would be cheaper if you could work with Union Pacific and their shops, because they've already done all that stuff.
Something tells me they wouldn't. Something tells me that the people would be very excited and happy to help. And I'm sure you could get all the information you could ever want out of Ed. But something tells me the official company and non-company assets, that's always a thing. It's always a company politics thing, and you know how it be. So anyway.
Yep.
Fuzzcopter, by twin cylinder you meant a steam tractor. Ever messed with some of the weirder applications of steam? Oh, I get you. I've run a Huber steam engine that came out. The video came out about a year ago today, actually, ish. It was August of 23. That's the only steam traction engine I've run. That's the only non-locomotive steam thing I've run. Thinking about it. Yeah.
There's a guy in Milwaukee that has an actual steam roller.
That's sick. I'd love to see one of those.
It's super cool.
I really want to run a Marion shovel one of these days, because everyone knows. Okay, well, everyone who's watched the channel a bunch and heard the lore knows that the Huber Manufacturing Company's in my family's lineage, but so is the Marion Power Shovel Company, Marion Steam Shovel.
Really?
My great granddad, who founded the Huber Manufacturing Company, was the prime investor and big starter of the Marion Shovel Company as well. So the Marion shovels, that's also right in my blood. So when you go to the museum in Marion, Ohio, which is where Huber is, that's why it's called the Marion Steam Shovel Company. They also have a bunch of stuff from Marion Steam Shovel and Power Shovel on display there. So I've always wanted to run one of those. So
I wish you would have said something. I know a guy in Wisconsin that's got two.
Well, now bud. It's not like I've made it out there yet.
Yeah. Next year, though.
Have him fire one up, and I'll get on the next plane. Not this year.
All right, I'll get a hold of him.
Next year probably sometime. Dude, for reals, that would be ticking the box on my end. I've always wanted to do that. So someday I want to own a Huber traction engine, but a steam shovel, they're so rare and they're a bit more of a thing. So
Do you want one?
this is why we love and hate Grateful Dead all at the same time. I mean, if you know a guy, after I buy a house finally,
it's gonna take some effort to fix it, but it's
I'm
not
sure.
bad.
Okay. Well,
It's just more external than internal.
Well, you message me offline. Crimson
Big 10-4 there,
Rose.
remember that?
Big Texas-sized 10-4. You wish my city would restore ICRR 1518. It was built in 1951 before it was retired in 1960. Any idea what it would take to start such a program? We're going to have to do a video about this. Should I restore it and run it on the main line? That's a clickbaity title right there. That's going on my Trello right now.
First of all, how much money do you have?
Should I restore it and run it on the main line? Yeah, that's
She is a pretty engine.
That's an easy video to do. Anyway, ICRR 1518. Let's take a look.
I mean, it
282.
doesn't look bad offhand.
Ooh.
That's a nice looking mic. Are you sure it was rebuilt in 51? Okay, so it was built in 23. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, why are they building a Mikado so late? We got more details, more pictures or anything? A rebuild and then running for 9 years? I mean, 9 years of railroad service can still... 9 years of railroad service is enough to ruin anything. So, no guarantees.
You ever seen what UP does to something when it's brand new?
I've seen what BNSF does to something when it's brand new. So...
You go into Google image search. They got some nice pics in there.
That's what I'm looking through. It looks like it's got a cosmetic done on it. It looks nice, but looking nice is nothing. Being nice is everything, and it's hard to glean from pictures. So, I mean, the real answer here is like, okay, you wanna restore a choo-choo. What does it take? 1, you need to own the choo-choo. If you don't own the choo-choo, it is a fool's errand to try and do something to the choo-choo, because so many groups have been screwed by not owning the choo-choo, taking it apart, people in politics changing, and then being kicked out, never able to touch the choo-choo again, and now you had a very pretty choo-choo that got taken apart to be fixed, and the city told you to go fuck off, and then the choo-choo scattered 8 ways to the wind, and the city no longer has a pretty choo-choo to look at, and you don't get to play trains. So 1, own the choo-choo. 2, own the land the choo-choo is on. Same problem. You don't own the land, you take it apart, you're working on it, something changes, some politics, whatever, blah, 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 you get kicked out. It's not an ideal situation. This has happened to a ton of different groups across the years. 3, own a shop. Have a shop facility. Have a place where you can work on it that's indoors. You got to answer those 3 questions first. And that's several $1 million right there before you even talk about how bad is the choo-choo.
Sounds good.
From there, where's it going to run? What are you going to do with it? Do you have permission to run it somewhere? Most of the mainline railroads and Amtrak are not playing ball with running steam trains right now. You know, somebody's feeding back. Figure out your crap. Most railroads out there are not into it whatsoever. So you have to have a place to run. You probably need to own the place it runs or have an agreement, and it better be a really darn good agreement, and it better not be a class 1, otherwise you're not going to get to play trains anyway. Look at the 2926, all dressed up and kind of nowhere to go. Hopefully it'll get to run on the BNSF at some point. We so hope so. We all want this, literally all of us. They did a great job restoring it. It's a beautiful engine. It looks fantastic. But they've run it, you know, a couple miles here and there at slow speeds so far, and that's still really cool that they get to steam it up and show it off. But, you know, for the intent of we want to go run it on the main and do the thing, it's been restored and running for a couple years now, and they haven't gotten to do it. And I'm not trying to disparage the group. It's just the nature of doing this stuff that it becomes intrinsically complicated like that. And I still really want to get down there and see it and film it. They've invited me down, and every time they've run it has been when I've had another trip already previously scheduled. It's a joy. But the long story short is there's a lot of ducks to get in the row before you even worry about the locomotive, and then the locomotive's probably going to eat you out of house and home anyway. So start with several $1 million, and you know, hopefully you got a good situation and you can make it work, but there's a lot that goes into it. I'm not saying it's hopeless or impossible or that you can't do it. I hope you can do it. But good Lord. It's not as easy as just going, well, that engine only needs a little bit of work, and then starting, because that is a lead balloon that likes to unravel quite quickly. So, Logan Jones, re-exhaust beats for 3/4 cylinder steam. You sent me the general arrangement drawing for the 8-cylinder TGRM class Garrett so I can see the offsets. Oh, cool. Let me take a look at that. Authentically coffee stained. Love to see it. Oh, these are the 442s that are 4-cylinder. Yeah. Well, 8-cylinder technically. So if we look, yeah, you can see they almost have a similar thing to Gresley conjugated gear on the front of the valves. Because yeah, we're seeing half of the setup here. We've got valves and pistons. Or do they run off of one valve? No, that's a valve. That's a valve. Piston. God, that's cool. What a nifty freaking diagram. And let's see. It doesn't quite have enough pixels to see exactly where all the cranks are landing with all the detail, but that's freaking cool. Thank you, Logan. Appreciate you. Oh,
Mark,
God.
You didn't share your screen.
I didn't share my screen. I had to press another button. Look at this drawing, guys. It's brand new.
What the hell is that?
It's the 442 plus 442 8-cylinder Garretts that they built.
I am in physical pain.
Yeah, reasonable response. Oh, actually, well, hang on. You can see we've got... No, that's a crank. There's a connecting rod. I don't know where the next... Or if there was another connecting rod or not, because it depends on the way the axles and the cranks are set up. But you can see from here that we got a valve, and then cylinder, cylinder. So you had 4 cylinders on each engine. And...
Pancakes, hot mic.
It's Pancakes that's doing it. Thank you. Appreciate you. It's this guy. He's got a connecting rod. They only connect on the number 1 on the interior, which makes sense rather than stepping 2 axles. But height-wise, I don't know where the second drive rod connects in, unless that's it right there. Which it might be. That's quite the diagram. I'd love to see it in more, in a full scan at some point. But cheers, Logan. Parklasm, building 1. New look at how well the T1 is going. The T1 is going amazingly. How long has it been going though?
I had to know.
Uh-oh.
I had to know.
There's tank cars blowing up over there from Rutger Lamberson again. And Rutger's not on my monitor yet. Rutger's going on the monitor right now. It's happening. Don't mind me shaking the camera because I'm writing on the monitor the camera's on. I even had to write over the NVIDIA tag a bit for the thing there. We'll get to you in a second. Thank you, my friend. T1 Trust. The T1, they're awesome. I love what they're doing. But this is the reality of trying to build something new and build something that's big, that's new. They're still estimating another 6 years to go. This diagram makes it look so much more like, oh yeah, look, they've almost done everything, because it's all PR stuff, right? But let's see. I don't know when they started this project, when they founded. And it feels like it's been almost 10 years now, but it's probably only been 5 or 6. But yeah, they don't say it on their about page, but I mean, they've done a crap ton. They're doing cool, really, really cool stuff. I know some of the people involved, and the progress they've made has been staggering. And it's just, I mean, it's just ridiculous. But it's not simple. It's not cheap. It's not easy. And no one would say it would be any of those things. But I do believe they're going to get it done, and they're going to run it, and it's going to be awesome when they do. But yeah, it's going to take them every bit of those $10 million they think it will. Like, that's just the way it be. So, yeah, it's definitely a thing. So if you want to do a big boy, good. Like, take the T1 and make it more complicated in some ways, simpler in others, but overall larger in scope. Godspeed. Yeah.
I will say I think it's been about 8 or 9 years since it started, because I did help fund one of the CAD drawings.
Okay.
Back
yeah,
in,
that
2015, 2016.
I was gonna say it feels like it's been about 10 years ish in my mind. I remember it and the Big Boy kind of being like side by side news ish, and that was 2013 on the Big Boy. I want to say, because I was early in college. So anyway, Golden Spike something. Chat needs something cool. Show them my thing in DMs.
Phrasing.
I don't know who you are in my DMs. I've not been sent something cool in DMs from anyone else that I can see. So, shrug. Or is it, no, it's, huh. Yeah, I don't know what you're on about, mate. Sorry. Although Mainline Through the Rockies did send me a recording from the Pirate Pilot of the even exhaust beats of the 9000s, which we want to listen to. Have I heard this? Oh yeah, it's perfectly even. Yeah, that obviously shows it's even. That's cool.
We can't hear it.
You guys can't, but stream can. You'll hear it in a second.
How it is.
That's cool. There's a famous Howard Fogg recording where it sounds like a galloping horse, where it's just absolutely ruined. So I see. But I don't need to torture my friend. He's literally. I don't need to torture poor Jersey. Your artwork is very nice, but I know he's watching this from my living room right now, and I don't need him to come up here and give me a hard time. Thank you, though, friend. Fuzzcopter, come to Rolag, Minnesota sometime. They have a Marriott shovel, I assume you mean, and a Huber return flue traction engine. Also, Google Case 150 for a Wildtail. I'm aware of the 150. Is that where it is? If they've got a Marion shovel and the return flue and the 150, I gotta go.
I think that's where Corey Anderson is based out of.
That would be cool. 4 doors, more whores. If my left leg is Thanksgiving and my right leg is Christmas, could I come visit you in between the holidays? No. Thank you for the $5, though. But no. Jordan Freeman asked NASA if I could drive the crawler transporter. That would be dope. Marion Power Shovel did make those. So, yeah. Anyway. Potato Notosaurus! As much as I'd love to buy and fix a 282, I'm not sure our curves will let us. It's definitely always a consideration. Pyroclasm talking about the 1361. Own it. Yeah, I wasn't directly talking about the 1361, but that is one of the examples, so. Zimzam, I have 3 SYs in my yard. It's free real estate. Sarcasm. Yeah. And now we get to Rutger Lamberson. Thank you, my friend. Listen to Office Hours with Hyce while playing Railroader. It's a good day. Professor Hyce, can you explain the difference between the independent brake and air brakes throughout the train? I know the air pump is on the loco, but does it provide for the independent also? Let's do it. $100 top chat. Yeah, you're gonna get the diagram. We're gonna draw this out. Air Brakes 101 probably goes into more depth than I can go into on this one, and I want to redo it on the engine and trace pipes and like show how it works in person now, because that video is so old. That video is 2.5 years old. I was doing just MS Paint like I'm gonna be doing here, but I will try and draw it the best I can. So you have the air compressor on the locomotive. I'm going to draw a single stage. It looks kind of like a barbell. Steam is in here in the top, and it's got a piston rod that runs through, and then it's got a second piston down here. Air is being generated in here, and we'll use this kind of lightish blue color for main reservoir air. So air is made by the pump there, and steam up here, presses this guy. Great. Steam cylinder, air cylinder. It's great. Steam cylinder is almost always on top. Air cylinder almost always on bottom. We take this air here and we put it into a big box that we call the main reservoir. It's the main one on the engine. It's where we store all of our air. So the compressor runs until it meets a certain pressure, usually around 130 psi. And that's what you have there. And we use this air for everything. This goes to sand. It goes to the bell ding ding if you have it. It goes to your independent brake, and it goes to your automatic. Okay? So specifically how that goes is we run into, for the independent brake, we run into a feed valve. And the feed valve is just a little cute little box. We'll draw it as a box. It's not a box, but it regulates the pressure. Okay, and then that feeds it to the independent brake valve, which is in green, which I'm just going to draw as a simple range for now. And then that goes to the brake cylinder. Okay, so here's your brake that's applying against a wheel and a brake shoe. Tunk. So when you get pressure in here, the brakes come on. Okay. When you take air from the main reservoir, it goes to the feed valve, which basically caps it out at a certain pressure, 45. And so you get 45 entering this valve. This valve has a bunch of positions, but for all intents and purposes, you can go and add pressure, reduce pressure, but you can put a maximum of 45 on most steam engines at least, PSI into the brake cylinder by moving this guy. So you move the handle from release to application. It takes air from here, which came from the main reservoir via the feed valve, into the brake cylinder. It squeezes the brakes on directly. Okay? So you're directly taking air that you have, shoving it right onto the cylinder, calling it a day. This is also how really early straight air brakes worked on early trains before automatic air. They just continued this all the way down the train to a bunch of brake cylinders. And the reason that sucks is that you need pressure in that pipe in order for the brakes to come on. So if you break that pipe, you can't apply any pressure because it all runs away and goes to vacuum, right? Goes out to the atmosphere. So you can never turn the brakes on with this, even if you put it full on. And so that's why you had a lot of runaway trains in early air brake days, was because straight air was not great. So we came up with automatic air, which I'm going to do in red. So automatic, we tap off again the main reservoir. We go through a second feed valve, another box, and that takes us to a different pressure, typically like 90 psi, sometimes 70, sometimes 110, whatever. 90's probably the bog standard, most common for anything freight out there. At the same time, we also bring a main reservoir source, and then we're going to go to, let's make it an orange valve. Here's our automatic brake valve. Automatic brake valve is a very complicated duct that has a lot of positions. There's a bazillion different types of them. Operating them is a whole different specific thing depending on what type of brake you have. But all you need to know is no matter what the handle can do, it sends out one pressure down an entire brake pipe to all of the brake cylinders on the train. But not the brake cylinders, sorry, to all the aux reservoirs on the train. This needs, let's see, well, we'll send it over here. It'll be easier. So you send your brake pipe, it goes down the train, and it has many units of this, where it goes, and it goes through a check valve into another reservoir, like the main reservoir, but it's the aux reservoir. This aux reservoir holds air on the car. So if you have 90, your brakes are released. You send that 90 to everybody, every single car, all of their aux reservoirs. Okay? So everyone gets 90 in their individual reservoirs. Then on the car itself, there is a little logic gate here that is usually slang called a triple valve. That's now called a control valve in modern day cars. We'll call it a control valve. Why not? Control valve. And the control valve is looking, okay, what is my pressure in my aux res? What's my pressure in my brake pipe? If my brake pipe becomes lower than my aux res, I'm going to take that corresponding amount of air from the aux res and I'm going to stuff it in the brake cylinder. And there's some pressure fluid mechanics stuff that happens. So you usually get 2.5 times the pressure in the brake cylinder than you had lost here. So if you say you take 90 pounds, you've released it, you got 90 pounds of air, it's run through the whole train, all of the reservoirs are at 90, down the whole train, and you use your automatic brake pipe to reduce this pressure to, I'm going to get a different color here, you reduce it to a color that I can see, 85. Okay, so you've had a 5 pound reduction in pressure. Now, this check valve won't let this air back out. So you still have 90 in here, you have 85 in the pipe. The control valve sees that and he says, okay, 5 pounds of air difference. I'm going to take that and dump it in here. You end up with 12.5 pounds in the brake cylinder, applying against the brake shoe. The great thing about this setup is if you break this pipe after these guys have been charged, wha-bam, you're getting all the air dumped in that brake cylinder as fast as possible, because this goes to 0 and this guy's still at 90. And now you've got a safe braking system. It's fail safe. If you have a separation, you have a runaway, hoses separate, something breaks, you dump the emergency valve. You open the brake valve all the way so that it zeroes out the pipe. Well, bam, it's going to dump everything, apply everything really, really quickly. So your independent is this guy up here. Really simply, I'm taking air that I have and I'm stuffing it into this box and capping it at a certain pressure, which is different per locomotive. The way I stuff it in the box is different per locomotive, but that's the thing. The train is, okay, I have all this air and I'm going to feed it to my train, and my train's going to eat it slowly in its own little versions of my own big tank. And then we're going to compare later, once we've got all these guys all matching, we're going to compare what's in the reservoir on the car versus what I have in the pipe. So if I make the pipe have less pressure by exhausting some in the cab with a big fancy automatic brake valve, then we can use the air that the cars already have, that they innately have, that we've given to them, to put on the brakes. And that's independent versus automatic 101 in about as much detail in as short a time as I possibly can do it. I think Air Brakes 101 was about an hour long, and it was still MS Paint like this. Like I said, I want to do it in person and explain all that stuff a bit more in depth. But that's basically the thing. The pump provides for everybody, and it's just charging up this reservoir. So I hope that was helpful. Great question, and thank you so much. $100 top chat makes my day. So thank you. Okay, now I need to scroll down through the rest of these top chats here. Pyroclasm, I believe the contract company is the same for both T1 and the 1361. Yeah, I believe it is FMW that is working on parts of both of them. I don't know if they're doing the whole thing for both of them, because the T1 Trust is its own entity. I'm not sure how that breaks out. Other people know the lore better than I do. I just know the machines. So, anyway. A person 723, have I seen the CNW 1015? It's a very sad choo-choo. I've not. That's unfortunate. Grant Dolan Music, how much do you think it will cost to build the Montezuma? A lot less than a big boy. We don't have a hard estimate yet because we haven't finished the engineering. We haven't gotten quotes and things. It's going to be $100,000-ish number. It's going to be a 6-figure number. Is it going to be 120 grand? Probably not. Is it going to be 700 grand? Probably not. It's probably going to be somewhere in that range because of how small it is. I've heard a couple numbers on a boiler, a year or ish ago, before, kind of inflation crap happened. So I don't know if the numbers might be the same. I don't know if they've changed. We've heard anywhere 60K to 200,000 for the boiler, just for the boiler, and that's a huge component and a big piece, and one of the biggest pieces of it. So, okay. That kind of right sizes the thing of it's going to be in the multi-hundred thousand thing. I will laugh if I can build it for less than it costs to buy a house in Denver, which I bet you we can. So we'll see. Zimzam, don't the crawlers have Alco Prime movers? They do. That they do. I think they have four of them. 4 of the big mean V16s, I'm pretty sure. They're pretty...
I looked it up. They have 2 primaries, Alco 251Cs, and then they have 2 smaller ones that are... I couldn't find what they are, but they're a little less than half the power for driving generators and auxiliaries.
Okay, so there are 4 engines, but only 2 of them are the true prime movers directly. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, I remember the number 4 sticking out, but anyway. They're cool. Person 723, Roleg also has the Euclid TC12 dozer. Kicking around pretty often, was the biggest dozer at one time. 671 Detroit's in it. Rad. That's cool. Fuzzcopter 150 is in Iowa. Roleg is the biggest team show in the US, where overalls for endless fun. Hell yeah. Sounds great. And I'm glad that I see Brett's vague estimates of Zoomy things being vaguely similar to what I just said. I don't think it'll be up to 700, but things get expensive sometimes, and you never know what they might be. Anyway, let's see. Ben Rochelle, thank you for the $1. Appreciate you. Sagery Bloodfang, roar. Yes, thank you. I've now done a roar on stream. Shrug. Rutger Lamberson, thank you for the thorough explanation on brakes. Brakeman for 7 months. Cheers, Rutger. Appreciate you. You're on the monitor now, man. You've been so kind and generous in these streams. I really appreciate you, so you deserve the explanation. There's so much more, and there's so many levels to it. Air is probably the most challenging thing to learn on the engines. Running, firing. Firing can be pretty nuanced. Some people pick it up quick, some people don't. Firing like coal can be pretty hard, but automatic air is definitely the master course of things to learn. So it's a tough one. Rails to Fails, will there be a Whistle Code 101 video? Yeah, it came out 2 years ago. It's a part of Whistles 101. It's a big, long video. The whistle codes, at least from the Rio Grande, are talked about in there. Go check it out. Ben Rochelle, Origins? Sheep mining establishments? Uranium for bombs. I'm glad that we like the quotes from Three Quarter Show. Pyroclasm used mild voice skills, checking DMs. Crimson Rose, air brakes can be a pain. Getting 0 PSI drop, equal pain. Yeah, for sure. Steam Ton 122. Well, if each sub donates $5, you should be able to build the Baldwin Mobile water heater and paint it pretty. It's part of the reason why we're doing that one, man. Like, we know it's possible, so. Katie S. never knew why Atmosphere's release not apply. Well, hopefully that explanation was there. You've already charged the cars up. Well, Atmosphere technically is apply. It's not release. You dump to Atmosphere, you dump to the worlds. You've already charged the cars up. That applies. And then release is recharging it back up to that feed valve setting, 90 psi, 70 psi, whatever. Unless you're talking about straight air, which, yeah, then Atmosphere is release, not apply. But that's ancient garbage. So I'm going to try and get through the last of this page of pre-asked questions, and then that's probably going to be it for stream. I got more to do tonight, and I want to take a little time for myself. So we're going to try and wrap things up here shortly, so if you got more questions, shoot them in the top chats now, and we'll see. Blaze, will there be K37s and K38s in Century of Steam? I don't know what Century of Steam is. But, and I also don't know what a K38 is. Will there be K37s? Time will tell. We don't answer Century Steam questions here. I assume he means K28s. There's a K28 in the trailer, I can say that. But we don't answer those questions here. User something. GW8RI8QO, somebody that does not have a YouTube account set up. What are my hours in Derail Valley? Lower than you'd think, actually, probably, because I pretty much only played a film. About 242. 241.9 is what my Steam tells me. So, 241.9, which is a hell of a lot less than the 3,195.8 in Team Fortress 2. My girlfriend's watching downstairs. Do I want her to know that I've spent more than a month playing a video game from 2007? Now she knows. Anyway. It's fine. Yeah, not many hours in Derail Valley, despite the many hour-long videos. I only play it for the videos or live streams. I don't play it any time beyond that, so. Peregrina! Weirdest broken choo-choo to darken Inner Bay other than 1676's Poop Ton. Or strangest, most unexpected thing to go weird on the museum choo-choos. Thanks for everything. You'll be stuck at work. Hopefully be able to pop in at break. Best wishes. This was a break at work probably 6 months ago now, but good to see you, Peregrina. Channel member, of course. Weirdest broken choo-choo to arrive at Inner Bay. Weirdest was definitely the 294. Fucking SD75 piece of shit. Some of those things, they were struggled. Let me see. Do I have a picture of it at Inner Bay? I'm sure I do. I do of it. I have a picture of the inside of the cab. I have a picture of it in the roster of all things. And then I have a picture of its air brake doors opened up underneath the cab. So I don't really have a good picture of what the engine looked like. But it's an SD75M. And when I was at BNSF, I don't know if Progress rebuilt them or who rebuilt them. It's actually a neat picture. Look, it runs and it's not being a pile of crap. Holy crap. That's amazing. Anyway, 294 and 274 were the two ones that were the struggle buses of the SD75s. But they rebuilt a bunch of these and sent them to us in the Northwest because they're kind of an intermediate engine. They have like 4,500 horsepower, I think, but they didn't want to use them for road service for whatever reason. Maybe, I don't know if they had good cooling or something, whatever. BNSF didn't want to use them for road service, so they were sending them up to the to us in the Northwest, where we had a lot of intermediate, smaller service, a lot of weird yard jobs, switch jobs, industry jobs, a lot of small putts between towns. It looked like this before rebuild, and then it went for rebuild, and it came back from rebuild, and it was just a pile of garbage. They went to test it, and it was just having intermittent failures over and over and over, and no one could figure out why it was failing. It was breaking this, breaking that. It wouldn't work. We'd test at the shop, test at the shop, test at the shop. It was fine. Passed every test. It would go out. It would go run for 2 days, fail. Wouldn't load. It would go offline. They'd bring it back to the shop. We'd test it. And then, it was a vicious cycle for a while. We did that for a long time, that it just kept breaking. And it got to the point that it was the 12th worst locomotive on the railroad. Of the 8,500 locomotives, this was the 12th worst on the entire railroad. The 11 that were worse than it were ancient SD70Ms that hadn't been rebuilt. But by failures per year, this one was the first worst of a not SD70M. And it was fresh out of rebuild. So, let's see what happened here. And it ended up being that there was a washer or a lock washer in one of the gear trains on one side of the engine hadn't been installed. And so occasionally things wouldn't lash properly, and it would lose load and lose all its crap, and it would stop working. But it would show no symptoms, and it would only do it under certain track conditions at high speed. So when it was running fast, whatever, under heavy load, vibrations, the whole 9 yards, that was when it was failed. We could never test it to that strenuousness at the shop. And it went through a bunch of other problems first. I distinctly remember our EMD rep coming in the office the one time going like, well, that's funny. I know why it's not making power. And it's like, well, what is it, Josh? And he goes, well, half of the engine's not firing. The whole left side doesn't do shit. It's like, oh, that would do it. That would in fact do it. So, yeah, that was an electrical fault. We replaced a harness, boom, then all the injectors worked, and yay, and it worked. But yeah, that was definitely the weirdest one. It was one just itty-bitty little fault. You think of Ford versus Ferrari, the little speech about trying to beat Ferrari. 1 5-cent washer fails, Ferrari wins again. 1 5-cent washer gets failed to install, and the locomotive causes thousands upon thousands of dollars of problems for the railroad. So, definitely, yeah. Rail fan of Pierce County, what is/was the oldest steam locomotive in the U.S.? Is it the best friend of Charleston? Let's be guessing. I don't know. It's either something the B&O had or it's the best friend of Charleston, maybe. Any of you guys know off the top of your head?
Surviving or...
surviving has to be the John Bull, I would think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's John Bull surviving.
But overall, yeah. According to a Google search, the Tom Thumb was the first common carrier railroad American-built steam locomotive in 1829. And I guess it ended up on the B&O. So, okay, so it was something the B&O did, but otherwise, yeah, it'd be the John Bull. Which, such a neat story, the John Bull. And the fact that it still exists is kind of amazing. And they built a replica and ran the replica. Now the replica's out of service. 1831. Yeah. It ran for its 150th birthday in 1981. I hope they run it for its 200th birthday. How kick-ass would that be? I'm just saying. Come on, Smithsonian. Let's do it. Let's run the John Bull. I'll be there. Just be neat to see. Anyway, yeah.
That Tom Thumb they made a replica of, that replica is almost 100 years old.
Goodness. Yeah. Okay, I got 2 more questions in the pre-asked questions, and then we'll finish out the top chaps and get out of here. Highball 5550, do I have any tips for 501c3 nonprofit organization in its early stages? Marketing, money, general advice. Any good places to start looking for contacts? Wow, that depends entirely on what you're doing with the 501c3. Like, I can't even give good advice other than do everything above board, do your books right, like do the things correct, account everything, have a good board, don't be pieces of crap. Like general business advice, basically. Marketing is important when you've got something to market, whatever it is, but that depends significantly on what you're doing. So make sure you've got a good plan before you begin marketing. Don't just start saying, hey, throw money at us. Like that's why we haven't said anything about Montezuma publicly beyond like live streams, right? I'm going to like sound off the horns and raise the flags and everything when we're like, okay, we're a 501c3. We are full bore into the abyss. We're going to build this locomotive 1,000,000,000% for sure. Let's go. You know, at that point we will, but we're not done with the design. We don't have the plan finalized. We need to know that we're going to be copacetic with the FRA, get all this money, whatever. We need to do all that crap before we jump into it and start taking people's money, because that's how you can burn bridges. That's how you can burn your reputation. If you start taking money before the plan's finalized, things fall through, you got egg on your face and you look like a crook. So don't do those kinds of things. And David Nunn, can I please do a video explaining why steam locomotives blow up? That is a clickbaity, easy video that I need to make at some point. Thank you for the idea, David. Why do steam locomotives blow up? If it's not a material failure, a gross material failure kind of thing, it is because you ran out of water and you expanded the crown sheet and it slipped off its bolts and it became a giant steam-powered trebuchet. That's the short of it, but we could definitely talk about boiler explosions. So, anyway, I still have, for next time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5-ish pages of 15 pages of pre-asked questions. We got through a good 3 pages today. Almost 3 pages, so, maybe next stream we'll nail them down. We'll see.
That would be a good idea for your 24-hour stream.
Oh my god, 24 hours of office hours with Hyce. My brain would turn into spaghetti after about the 5th hour. It would not be good question answering at that point.
Not the full 24 hours, but enough to actually catch up on that page.
Oh, that could be true. We could do it as a break in between the railroading portion. We'll keep that in mind. That'd be fun. Okay. Last couple top chats here. Rails to fails. Just when you think you've heard everything, the goddamn RGS shows up again. Something more insane than goats, geese, and snow bullshit. That is the RGS we know and love. So, yeah. Burrito the Noodle Dragon. Great name. Brakeman 14 months. Is there a reason a diesel train has its doors open? For maintenance, usually. The side doors. Otherwise, they should be shut while running. On the cab? I mean, usually the wind's so awful, you don't want the wind chill and the crazy noise. So usually they have them shut, but sometimes they'll have them open. So, shrug. Let's see. Next one, 75 horse case. Fireman, 15 months. Good evening. Got a question regarding 2-cylinder compound locomotives. Was there any abnormal wear due to the weight imbalance?
What type?
I would assume he's talking about a cross compound, a 2-cylinder compound locomotive. If it's only 2 cylinders, that would be high pressure on the right, low pressure on the left. I would assume so. I don't know of any records that for sure show that, but I would have to assume.
On the NP, a lot of their cross compounds had frame problem. The opposing forces would actually twist the frame over time, especially with the light frames at the turn of the century.
So
these cross compounds are bad.
They is. So this is a quick engineering thing that we can talk about. Let me just make a new image here. This is a quick lesson on engineering fatigue. Okay, so say that your point of zero stress is right here in a graph. If you're talking about stress, okay. And when I talk about stress, I don't mean like, oh my god, I got so much stuff to do. I mean like I'm bending a piece of metal and I'm stressing it. Stress is defined as a force and this is sigma, Greek letter. It's not me with my hair flowing to the back. I drew that a little too poorly, whatever. Sigma stress equals a force over an area, basically. Okay, so if I were to me and my 230-pound butt were to stand on a pipe that's connected at both ends, I'm putting a bending stress on that pipe because I'm putting a force of 230 pounds at the point in the middle, and at that area, I'm trying to shear the pipe, blah, 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 blah. You get the area of the pipe, you can figure out the stress. And that's shear stress, it's getting a bending stress, it's getting a lot. There are many different types of stress. But for stress in general, you just need to know when something is stressed, it's taking a force and it's dividing it by an area. And so when you have a locomotive and it's got a piston and it's applying forces to the piston and to the crosshead and to the rods, it's going to go one direction, then the next direction. That's positive minus. So you have a positive stress and a minus stress here. And we'll think about one half of the engine for right now, okay? So if you've got the force and you go same force as you go maximum force at your maximum stroke, you're going to basically make something that kind of looks like a sinusoidal wave. It looks like trigonometry, a sine wave, right? So you're going to plus force and to minus force. And it's even, and it's great, and it's nice. And when it's balanced like that, that is your best case for fatigue in engineering. Now let's say your locomotive is out of time, or the force is unbalanced, or like it's an American locomotive, and technically you have a piston that then has a piston rod, so that the overall force is slightly different because you have the same pressure on both sides, but you have a bigger area on this side, so you technically get a slightly bigger force on the one side than the other, which is why some European locomotive designs are technically superior. When you extend the that out, you get better fatigue wear. It's a little bit more of a pain in the butt for maintenance. It's a trade-off, but superior in terms of this sort of thing. So you go up to that force and you go down, and the other force is a little bit less. Okay, and if you average things out, I want to say you take an integral. I don't remember exactly. This is a number of years. But if you end up moving the average stress off of 0 and you move it up, you significantly decay the lifespan of any component. Because you're not loading it evenly, you're playing the bend the paperclip game. You bend the paperclip back and forth enough times, it eventually just breaks. That's what you're doing when you're talking about fatigue. There's high cycle fatigue and low cycle fatigue. High cycle is you run it a bazillion, thousand, billion, million times like your car engine, it finally gives up and breaks. If you're doing low cycle fatigue, you do it a number of times, like if you were to make a submarine and take it down to see the Titanic and make it out of carbon fiber. That would be very low cycle fatigue of approximately 6 cycles. Anyway, it's a good example because it's actually a similar loading case to a boiler. But anyway, anytime you make these stresses unequal that it experiences, you increase the likelihood that fatigue will cause a failure significantly. So if you're looking at a whole locomotive and you're looking at a high pressure, low pressure setup, and you've sized the cylinders somewhat differently to try and compensate for that, but you can never truly regulate the low pressure cylinder exactly. If you have a high pressure cylinder and you get to the high pressure stress and you go to the low pressure stress and the high pressure stress, and you're going to fatigue cycle the shit out of everything on that locomotive. You will wear things, you will bend things, you will fatigue things, you will cause things to fail so much more easily, which is part of the reason why a steam engine that's out of time beats the crap out of itself even harder. If you've got nice even exhaust beats, you got that same force for the same amount of time, you're loading everything the same and equally. If you've got that beat that's off and it's getting a big slug of steam and then losing it way fast, you're changing the fatigue loading. So that's a big reason why weird little compounds like a cross-compound locomotive were not so common, particularly late, was because at the end of the day, maintenance-wise and failure-wise, they were a big challenge. So it's a great question. Norweasterner posted me a little link with a thing. Let's see. I guess it was in the early 1900s that the Northern Pacific determined that these are bad. They aged, the difficulty in maintaining them, keeping them free of steam leakage proved more expensive than originally anticipated. Converting them to single expansion operation, equipping them with superheaters made sense only if the demand for locomotives was great enough to require purchasing additional locomotives if these conversions were not done. So yeah, they got rid of them because the money wasn't in it, because of the maintenance. So there you go. Peregrina, shocked to hear my name because I haven't said anything yet. Here you are. Yes, it was your question you asked probably in March. It's fine. We're slowly getting through these. Actually not at work tonight and been enjoying the stream. Thanks for the story. The rebuild shop got rid of their gremlin into the 294. They really did. They took their shop gremlin and put it in the 294 and shipped it to us. The 274 was a similar situation. It had something wrong with the main alt, and it ended up getting shipped off to Northtown up in St. Paul, Minnesota, where they blitzed through it and fixed it. But anyway, good to see you, Peregrina. Levi Brooker, here's $5 from Kentucky to build the Zuma. Watched the channel since the beginning, have learned a ton from it, and had lots of laughs. Keep it all up. Thank you, Levi. Appreciate you. Brew the Boomer, I hear about high and low cycle fatigue all the time from your mechanic father. It's a thing. Any mechanic, any engineering person knows that, and the Gen Alpha folks heard me say Sigma and didn't realize that it was a Greek letter because their generation confuses me. It's fine. I'm officially old at 30, right? It's fine. Anyway, last couple chats. We're going to be out of here. Daylight P&W Productions. Hello, Hyce. It was a pleasure to meet you at the museum last Saturday. Keep doing what you do. The museum was fun and informative. Great to meet you, man. Thank you so much for coming out. Crimson Rose, last question. What's the best train game? I have to say, if you want one train, Deerell Valley. If you want many trains, Railroader right now would be my two picks. If you want a railroad game, Railroader. If you want just a train game, Deerell Valley. So, anyway.
Century is Steam.
It's not done yet. It's not out. I can't say my game because my game's not much of a game yet. We'll get there. It's not even my game. My team's game. My group's game. I am the president, but anyway. Mike B, with another 50 memberships, man. Well, we're gonna close out on the birds here. Pyroclasm, inside cylinder versus outside. Outside cylinder, way easier to maintain than inside cylinder. Inside cylinder only recommend for loading gauge if you in small place known as Europe. There you go. Rotate, darn you. Show me the birds. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We appreciate you. I'll make buttons for these next time. Maybe if I remember, we're streaming again tomorrow night. It's going to be a fun video game stream. If you saw Talia's post with a firefighter hat, you might have a clue. So tomorrow night, smidge, or I don't know, kind of earlier than this stream was. We'll be playing a silly firefighter game with an actual firefighter, just for the funsies. So, anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Catch y'all next time. Great stream. Thanks so much for the love and support, everybody.